Hello students, today we will study about life processes. There are four life processes: nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. So let us start from nutrition. The criteria to decide whether something is alive or non-living. The most important criteria to decide whether something is alive or it is movable, we can say that the living things can move with the help of an external source. Such movements can be easily visible, like the movement of body parts and any molecular movements. The molecular movements in the cell and the tissues are necessary for all the life processes. Now consider, let us talk about these life processes. Taking very first is the nutrition. The life processes are the basic processes that are necessary for maintaining their life of an organism. They are very must or required by an organism for its growth and development. Nutrition, it is a process of taking enough food by an organism and its utilization by the body. Respiration is the process by which the food is burned in the cell with the help of oxygen to release energy. Now, next one is transportation, the process by which the substances, useful substances like food, oxygen, water, and certain waste products, some waste products are also carried from one part of the body to another, is termed as transportation. Excretion is a process by which waste substances are removed from our body. Now, nutrition. Talking about the nutrition, it is a process of taking enough food by an organism and the utilization of food to get energy for growth and repair of the damaged body parts. Under this nutrition, we will study about the types. There are two types of nutrition: autotrophic and heterotrophic. Autotrophic mode of nutrition is a nutrition in which the organism can make their own food using simple inorganic substances. What are the simple inorganic substances? Carbon dioxide and water. So, in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, these green plants can make their food and certain bacteria also. The heterotrophic mode of nutrition in which the organism get their food directly or indirectly from the plants, like animals, fungi and some bacteria. The types of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. There are three types of heterotrophic mode of nutrition: saprophytic, parasitic and holozoic. So let us discuss these types in detail. The very first is saprophytic nutrition. It is a mode of nutrition in which the organisms get their food from the dead and the decaying inorganic substances or the organisms. They break down their food material outside the body and absorb it. Example: mushroom, bread mold, yeast and certain bacteria. Parasitic mode of nutrition is a nutrition in which organisms get their food from living organisms and they depend on host for their food. Without killing the host, they get nutrition. For example, we have the cuscuta, that is amar bale, that gets its nutrition from a plant on which it resides or on which it feeds. Orchid, sticks, lice, leech, these all are the parasites for different organisms or for the host. Plasmodium, that is a malarial parasite, is also a parasite for human, for animals. Holozoic nutrition is a nutrition in which the organisms take food directly and then digest and absorb it. Example is amoeba, paramecium, birds, fishes and human. Now, nutrition in plants. The process of green plants to make their food using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight is termed as photosynthesis. Here we have the reaction of photosynthesis, that is when the 6 molecules of carbon dioxide reacts with the 12 molecules of water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. The glucose is formed and 6 molecules of oxygen will be released. So the byproduct of this process is oxygen, which is utilized by the organisms. The process of photosynthesis. There are 3 steps that are the part of the mechanism of photosynthesis. Very first is the absorption of light energy by the chlorophyll pigment. The green colored pigment chlorophyll absorbs the sunlight, and the second is the conversion of light energy into the chemical energy and splitting of water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. The water molecule will be split into two molecules of two hydrogen ions and oxygen molecule. So in this way we'll get the oxygen as a byproduct. The third one is the reduction of carbon dioxide by hydrogen to form carbohydrates. Now what is chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is a green colored pigment present in the leaves. If we observe a cross section of a leaf under a microscope, we can see cells containing the green dot like structure termed as chloroplast. In the cross section of a leaf, we are able to see the chloroplast containing the leaf. Here you are able to see the structure of the leaf and the chloroplast. Now look at, this is a section of a leaf. The section of a leaf shows the upper epidermal layer. This epidermal layer bears stomata. Then we have the palisade mesophyll cells. Then we have the spongy mesophyll cells, and lower epidermis is there. Lower epidermis is there, and the guard cells with the chloroplast are present. The stomata bears the guard cell which are helpful in exchange of gases. These guard cells act, these are the tiny pores present on the surface of the leaf. Look at this diagram that is shown to you here, that bears the upper and the lower epidermis having stomata that helps in the exchange of gases. And in between we have the palisade mesophyll cells and the spongy, or we have the mesophyll parenchyma cells that bears the chloroplast. Next we have the structure of a chloroplast. In the structure we are able to see we have outermost membrane, outer membrane, inner membrane. There is a space between the outer and the inner membrane, that is intermembrane space. And we have stroma. The stroma, in the stroma the light reaction, the dark reaction takes place. And in the grana are the piles of thylakoid. These are the stacks of thylakoid. Now what is a thylakoid? The thylakoid is a sac-like structure. This thylakoid, it is a sac-like structure that it is a site for the photosynthesis. It is a site for the light reaction. Okay. Now we have lamella. The lamella are these are the grana lamellae. Here we have the grana lamellae. Grana lamellae that helps the two grana to join. They help in connection between the two grana. Now we have the lumen. Lumen is there inside the thylakoid where the light reaction takes place. Now next we have this. It is again the section of a leaf in which the stomata open to allow the exchange of gases. That is, the carbon dioxide will enter into the cell, into the leaves, and oxygen is released out. So when we have low concentration of carbon dioxide inside the cell, the carbon dioxide by the process of diffusion enters into the cell. It moves into the cell, and in the cell when it reaches to the chloroplast, here the chlorophyll helps in the photosynthesis by utilizing carbon dioxide and the water to produce food, that is glucose. Stomata are the tiny pores that are present in the leaves which helps in exchange of gases. Each stoma has a pair of guard cells which controls the opening and closing of stomatal pore. When water enters the guard cell, it swells and pore opens, and the guard cells lose water and it will shrink, and in this way the opening and the closing of stomata or the guard cell helps in the exchange of gases and the movement of water. So you are able to see in this picture that we have the water diffuses into the guard cell which causes them to open. As the guard cells swell up, the guard cell when swell up, then the stomatal pore opens, and the exchange of gases takes place. The CO2 enters into the cell, and when it is closed, the water is lost. When the loss of water takes place, then the stomata closes and exchange stops. Here we have the activity to show that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. You have to take a potted plant with variegated leaf and keep it plant in dark for 3 days. Now when all the starch is used up, then you will observe that the leaves, they start becoming yellow in color. Decolorization will takes place, and first of all you have to take a leaf and mark the green area of the leaf with a sheet of paper, then dip the leaf in the boiling water and then in alcohol. When you will heat up it in water bath, you will observe that it will decolorize, and there will be the removal of chlorophyll. Then wash the leaf with the and dilute it with iodine solution. You will be able to see that the green colored part will turn blue black and the rest of the part doesn't. In case of nutrition in amoeba, the amoeba is a unicellular animal, okay, organism. It takes food by the help of pseudopodia, which are the finger-like projection, or the cell wall extends to form pseudopodia in vagination, and it engulfs food in the form of a food vacuole. Inside the body, the vacuole gets digested, the food gets digested inside the vacuole, and the undigested food is thrown out again by the process of phagocytosis. Now we have the nutrition in human beings. The nutrition in human beings takes place in digestive system. It consists of alimentary canal and the digestive glands. The glands contain various enzymes for the breakdown of food. The main organs are mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, anus. And the digestive gland includes salivary gland, gastric gland, liver, pancreas, and intestinal glands. As you are able to see in this picture, we have salivary glands, tongue, epiglottis is the small structure, flap-like structure present at the entrance of the food pipe. At the upper end of the food pipe, it will cover the food pipe when it will cover the windpipe when we are swallowing food. Esophagus, then we have gallbladder, stomach, pancreas, ileum, cecum, colon, and rectum. These are the part of large intestine, and duodenum, jejunum, and ileum are the parts of small intestine. Now we have the process. In the mouth, the food is broken down into the small particles by the teeth and mixed up with the saliva. Here the salivary amylase can digest the sugar, starch. Then the food passes to the esophagus and it reaches to the stomach. In the stomach, the pepsin enzyme digests, it helps in breakdown of proteins, and the hydrochloric acid makes the food, it provides the acidic medium to the food, which helps in digestion and killing of germs. The mucus protects the cell wall of the stomach by the action of acid. Then the food reaches to the small intestine. In the upper part of the small intestine, we have the pancreatic juice, which contains pancreatic amylase, lipase, and trypsin and chymotrypsin. Chymotrypsin and trypsin breaks down the proteins, lipase breaks down the fat, and amylase helps in digestion of sugar. In small intestine, the glands present in the in the wall of the intestine, termed as intestine, they produce intestinal juice, and the enzymes which are involved here are intestinal lipase, intestinal amylase, and we have the protease enzyme, dipeptidase. All these helps in breakdown of carbohydrate, protein, and fats. Now this small intestine has villi, which increases the surface area for the absorption of digested food. Ultimately, when the food is digested, it reaches to the large intestine, where the assimilation of food takes place and the undigested food is removed out through the anus. So this is all about the nutrition. We'll study about respiration in next slide, next video.